Support for TAGSPodcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TAGSPOD, TAGSPOD, at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls. What is going on? You are listening to Tags Podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie, and this is episode 439 as we continue to celebrate our 6-year anniversary of podcasting. So excited to keep it moving, and I could not think of a better way to continue the festivities than to bring back the good doctor, the ass doctor, proctologist himself, Dr. Goldstein. He's been on the show many times throughout the 6 years, and we could not think of a better way to bring him back. He has new information. If you've never heard of him before, you want to check this out for proper ass health, when to check it out, proper bottoming, tops. We'll learn a lot on this episode as well. Could not think of it. So have a listen to this episode. By the way, we have new surprises coming your way all year long as we celebrate 6 years, including Tags Live, as we'll be bringing on special guests as we continue the celebration. But first things first, let's get into my conversation with Dr. Goldstein. Okay, well, I am very excited to be in the room, because we do so much of our recording virtually now, but with tried and true Dr. Goldstein, the ass doctor, proctologist, anal surgeon, the creator, owner of Bespoke Surgical in New York City, as well as he launched Future Method. How you doing, Dr. Goldstein?
I'm good. It's been a long time. I'm glad to be back.
Absolutely. We have a lot to talk about, and I think it's really good to refresh people's memory. If we just want to get right into one of the first questions, actually, I want to know from you, what changes have you seen in the last 5 or so years of butt health, people thinking about it, and maybe like some of your clients that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see a lot more younger generations really looking to our practices to learn and to see and kind of create this yearly evaluation to make sure that everything is copacetic, no issues, no surprises. So it's kind of interesting to see that people are going beyond the limited sexual education that we get at schools, beyond porn, and they're like, hey, I'm a bottom, I'm going to own that. What are certain things that I can do to mitigate risk, understand what's going on with me, my partners, and whatnot? Today I even saw someone that was just 19 years old, new to bottoming, has a couple of boyfriends, and wanted to make sure he was safe. Wound up having anal warts that we treated in the office. But again, it was silent. He didn't know. He didn't want to pass anything on to partners, so took initiative. So I've been seeing a lot of that.
Do you think it's just more about the younger generation is just getting the message more about the health of that region, your ass region?
I think it's all that. I think it's also what you've been doing for the past 6 years of like pushing this narrative, the same with me, of like, hey, there's so many things that we need to be tailoring our care to.
Right.
And we're in the best city in the world and we have access to that. How do we make sure that we do X, Y, and Z to support that? Another thing that I saw was a lot with the monkeypox stuff,
Right.
Not so much the acute infection. It was more the after. A lot of people, even though they were treated, I would see the long-term sequelae of that, these chronic fissures, these ulcerations, weeping. And these are guys that could take lots of dick and enjoy it for a long time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden to be able to not. And what I see a lot of is the pelvic floor would basically just, because it was so fucking painful.
Right.
all the muscles would clamp down. And then when the infection goes away, the muscles are still so angry with the situation. So a lot of anal Botox, a lot of physical therapy, a lot of really kind of resetting the musculature so that now we can bring people back to where they need to be. And thankfully, I've been seeing a lot where they're back to where they were originally. Right. It just needed some kind of coaching.
Right. And people were taking time off and not taking care of themselves, it sounds like, which I think is a great thing that you offer, is to really, I want to get into some of those questions.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that you do surgically in office, that you talked about fissures that people have. What are some other things, and when should really people be having their ass region looked at by you?
I think, once a year is probably standard, especially if you're bottoming.
Right.
There's so many silent issues, whether it's warts, whether it's chlamydia, whether it's infections, whether it's hemorrhoids, tags, fissures, that sometimes you don't necessarily have overt symptoms, yet when we're doing an exam, we do an internal and an external exam. We do pap smears, which look at HPV to make sure that we're not, that we're basically kind of cutting away dysplasia, which is the progression to cancer. So we can catch things early, really looking in and out. And also the functionality. I do a lot of work with measuring the pressures in the ass, meaning if you're having sex and I measure that pressure to me allows me to define good sex, right? And then, like, as we're aging, is it getting too loose? Is it getting too tight? I can now really use those numbers to our advantage to say, okay, maybe I do need to give anal Botox to bring it back into the range. We know that this range is appropriate for you. And so there's a lot that we're doing on the bottoming side, and really understanding, because I see 75 people a week, 10 to 15 surgeries a week, where we're really able to start seeing patterns. I see a lot of fissures. Fissures are tears, and it could happen from newbie bottoms that just first trying and doing things, to people that go to DP or bigger, or just it went from nothing to something big too quick. And then the skin or the muscle doesn't accommodate. That's usually the number one thing that I see in the office.
What about like irritations? Because I've had, if you were to use me as an example here, I've had like an irritation that'll come periodically around the opening of the ass, and sometimes I think it's just because either wiping too hard and it gets inflamed a little bit, and I do a self-examination in the mirror, and I can always tell. And then if I'm just careful with it, don't have a lot of, sadly, sex for a period, the inflammation seems to go down.
Yeah, I see a lot of the inflammation. First off, I know everyone that's listening is going to fucking hate me, but I always talk about wet wipes. Wet wipes are terrible, not only for the environment, but especially in our gay community or the bottoming community. What happens is it basically washes away the microbiome. So we have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria, but they're in homeostasis, meaning it's in equilibrium. If we're using wet wipes or we're creating more moisture in that area, now we're setting the stage for different bacteria. And the different bacteria can cause some of that irritation. Yes, over wiping can definitely do it. I'm a huge proponent of bidets. They're so cheap now. We work with this Hello Tushy that's like $80, something like that. That's super easy, that goes on your existing toilet. I see a lot of herpes, especially in our world, and it's not herpes type 2. A lot of people feel as if, it's got to be genital herpes that's there. No, because we lick, we suck, we do a lot of analingus. We're all really oral people, right? I see so much more herpes type 1 anally. And those present with just like little irritations, little ulcerations. You'll see like a little bit of abrasions in the skin. And sometimes, yes, it's over wiping or the wet wipes, but sometimes it could be like a herpes outbreak. And things to mitigate that is, like you said, time of just, sitting and letting things chill. There's obviously creams and lotions that we could do. Sometimes if people have a history of herpes, we do Valtrex daily, or there's a cream that I use a lot called acyclovir, which locally can take care of the viral issue if there is that. Also, you got to think outside the box. Like, is the lube that you're using causing irritation? Yeah. Sometimes the toys that I see people use, that's why I like glass toys. They're really great to strengthen the skin, relax the muscle, and create appropriate friction in the ass. But with that being said, a lot of the silicone-based stuff or some of the rubber stuff, people feel and get some irritation with. So I think the key is to like look at your world, look at all the things that we said, and then try to kind of deduce where that potentially
maybe
is
not using enough lubrication, which
totally
is another
can
problem.
Cause more friction. Yeah, and I'm a big silicone-based lube for specifically anal. Water-based stuff causes microbiome changes. I don't think that they're as great. And anytime that you get water-based lubes that they're like, oh, it's organic, it's so good for you, they all suck. It's like, I've never met one that actually slides your dick in nicely.
And things like coconut oil and things like that, probably not recommended.
You know, the thing with oil is, I think, look, oil is fucking awesome. I mean, especially from a massage perspective,
good.
It feels so good.
Yeah.
The problem is there really hasn't been good studies intraanally. And when you look at oil, like coconut oils or those massage oils that we all love, intraanally it can cause irritation. And the problem is you don't feel irritation inside. That's why with douching, a lot of times people don't realize that you're actually causing more harm than good from douching, because the sensation inside is not pain, is not anything like that. It's just winds up being where it's like a silent issue. So the same thing with coconut oils and whatnot. Look, if it's going to slip in and you're going to have fun once in a while, I get it. But it's more of the routine of using something like
What's
that.
your practice methods that you're finding work for you, and this hasn't been proven yet.
That's right. But the thing is, if you're going to do it, like I said, with Bespoke and with Future Method, we're trying to meet you where you are. Right. So if you're like, Evan, I love fucking with oils.
Right.
Great. Keep doing that. But maybe I see you every 3 months.
Right.
And we take a look inside, make sure we're not missing something, do evaluations. I want you to do you, and for me to tell you what's riskier and what's not, but you have to make the decision, and then we'll support that.
Well, you mentioned douching, and we got the age-old question that I think we've talked about on the show a lot, but needs reminding. The question came in from a listener: what is the proper way to douche?
Yeah, the reality is actually not to douche.
Not right.
And so
I knew you were going to say that.
With that being said, I take a step back with douching, and I think, what's the end goal? We all have the same end goal.
Clean.
Right? We want to be clean. We want to feel sexy. I get that.
Porn star ready is
right. With that said, though, I think the key for us is to look at diet, exercise, fiber. How do you use fiber supplementation, pre and probiotics, diet, and exercise, so that I always equate to dogs taking a shit on the street. Like, some of them are, 99% of them look perfect. It's like it comes right out. They don't even need to wipe, right? And that's the same consistency of what we want. And so when I started Future Method, it was all about empowering the bottom and providing products that would support what we're trying to do. And the key for me was always bringing risk down. When people are over douching or they're using water, you're basically changing the microbiome. You're getting rid of the protective lining, and then you're setting your ass up for issues, higher risk of STDs, HIV, fissures, all of those things. So the key in anything anal is less is more, meaning fiber, probiotic usage. We're the first ever pre and probiotic specifically for anal, meaning if you and I go on the street and we stop 20 guys or girls and we swab their ass, we can tell who takes it up the ass. Because what happens is the microbiome changes just from douching with water, water-based lubricants, toys. The microbiome gets irritated. The lining is now sloughed off, and not in a good way. So it's basically raw internally. And then we have sex, and 70 to 80% of us don't use condoms. So you can see where everything
and over
goes.
time.
Exactly. So we said, okay, why don't we provide an easy solution with fiber? Why don't we provide, and we'll talk more about the fiber stuff. Why don't we provide an easy solution to replace that microbiome? So the nice thing about the pre and probiotics is it's the first that gets the change to the good bacteria all the way down to the ass. Meaning when you take pre and probiotics right now, it's digested in your stomach, replaces your small intestine, maybe a little bit of the colon.
Right.
But it doesn't get all the way to where we need it, which is actually the rectum and the anal canal, which is where we're having sex. So the beaded formulation allows for this to get repopulated in the rectum. And then the key is douching, right?
Right.
So what we said was, if we're going to douche, why not douche with a solution that's not toxic? So when you think of, you have to think of a spectrum, what's called hypo and hyper. And it's basically meaning water is on one side,
Right.
enemas are on the other side. We basically need to be in the middle. And there's a certain range of osmolarity that allows us to say, okay, we're going to clean the cell, but we're not going to irritate the cell. Right. So water draws out all the essential nutrients in the cell and basically kills the cell.
Right. Oof.
Enemas draw out the water because you're trying to use an enema for constipation. So it pulls water into the stools so that you can shit. Those two spectrums, the end of the spectrums, cause irritation. So the goal for us was saying, okay, well, look, we know we're going to douche.
Right.
So why don't we come up with a solution that's not toxic? And so with that is a solution, and it comes in two different variations. One is basically a pack that has a solution in it that's all ready to go, and it comes with a bulb, and you're able to literally just put the bulb into the pack, suction out the liquid, and then use that to irrigate. Or now we came out with these powder packs, which are really so much easier and also cost savings.
Travel.
Where you literally, for every 4 ounces of water that you would use, you pour this powder pack into it. And it brings that into that right zone so that now you don't dry out, you don't have mucus, you're able to now irrigate and clean, but also feel sexy. It also pre-lubricates you so that now you're ready to go. And again, if you're douching for an hour and a half, it's way too much. The key is by fiber, diet, and cleaning, it's like, I'm going to take a shower to clean myself. I know I'm going to take it up the ass. I'm going to use 1 to 2 to 3 bulbfuls, and that is it. And then I usually tell people to use a toy after. Show yourself. First of all, it gets rid of any excess liquid because a lot of times people have some water there and then you don't want that all over the dick. So that helps. But also, it'll show you that you're clean, and it'll also pre-dilate and pre-lubricate. So I usually tell people, douche first, clean out, prove to yourself that you're clean, use the toys, and then pop in the shower and just wash off and get yourself smelling good so that you can get eaten and play.
And all the fun stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's such... that's why I wanted you back on, because the times where I've really focused on my diet, taken either a psyllium husk type of... I want to talk about yours in a second, is when you get all that in line, it is more like the dog poop. It comes out in the morning, it's perfectly, I mean... Yeah,
no, it's formed and bulky, but still soft.
So when you do clean, you don't really need that much, and there's less of that, and that's why you're, what do you call your bulb and the...
Yeah, so the cleansing kit comes in, and I do it strategically. The bulbs are smaller. And the reason is
you don't need as much.
That's right. And I find that a lot of people come to my office because they're over douching, and then they have the hemorrhoids flare, they have a tear, they have something even before they have sex.
Right.
And it's all from the douching. You have to remember, from an anatomical perspective, where run-of-the-mill penis or toys are going is what's called a conduit, meaning the stool doesn't stay there. When the stool goes into that area, you feel it, and you're like, oh, I need to take a shit.
Right.
But if you're regular and you're emptying that conduit, it's empty. And I say, prove it to yourself. Don't douche when you're using toys by yourself. Just put a toy up there and play and pull it out and see. And then you start to kind of look at your world to be like, all right, what did I eat last night?
Right.
You know, like what are the things that could be contributing to kind of more smearing or like more residual stuff that's there? And it's really looking at kind of the before, the during, and the after for you to start figuring out in your world where the best bottoming routine is. But I don't think it's douching. I want you all to focus more on diet, exercise, pre and probiotics, fiber, and really kind of analyzing that way. Because if you're doing that and you're doing more kind of gut health,
Right.
your butt health will be less impacted in a negative way.
Hey guys, Stevie here of TAGSPodcast, and you probably heard me talk a few times about going to the naked beach last summer. Looking forward to this summer. Well, the first time I went last summer, I was trying to clean up since I was going to be exposing all of my body, and one of the things I wanted to do was trim my hairy bush on my balls, and I used disposable razors. Big mistake, as I was in a hurry. You got to get the ferry early in the morning, and I was quickly trying to shave my balls with this disposable razor and nicked and cut up my balls. Oh my gosh, I wanted to be an exhibitionist, but I was too busy covering up my balls in fear that you were going to see all the nicks and cuts. Not sexy. Not a good idea. And that's why I'm really happy to tell you about the Performance Package 4.0, which has arrived by Manscaped, and it is a game changer. In this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserve ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. I love this travel bag. I use it everywhere I go. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming and, dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade, so it reduces grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof, and it also has a 4000K LED spotlight. You need a more precise shave. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor. You thought that was good, but want to take your groomer game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Their Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver ball toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0. The Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TAGSPOD. That's TAGSPOD. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code TAGSPOD at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Makes so much sense. I know you're not going to like this next one, but we get a lot of people that take a leave or anti-diarrhea to really, porn stars often have said they do this. Yeah. And I was talking to some friends and they're like, you haven't heard of that? I said, no, I haven't. That's not a good idea, though, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you know, I think what happens is that a lot of times if you're doing it in that capacity...
Emotion. Sorry, I meant emotion.
Yeah. Where you get like Imodium.
Thank you, that one.
Like those types of things where it basically is an anti-diarrheal. It'll slow your gut down.
Right.
Now, the problem is that if you're doing it chronically, you lose the peristalsis of the intestines. So
what it's meant to be doing.
Yeah. So like, you know, basically, if you think of like a car wash, you put your car in the beginning and then it goes through. It's the same concept as a piece of shit or whatever we're eating, right? It's going slowly through your digestive system. But now if you're using that to slow that down, what happens is that now it's like I need to shit and it won't move and it won't kind of work its way down.
Natural progression.
And it's very similar to like people that are addicted to heroin or addicted to Percocet pills or these kind of codeines. That's their main issue, is it causes constipation. So then what happens is they have to force to shit. They have to douche and clean themselves out with enemas. They have to. So look, if you're using them infrequently to help a situation,
right,
I get that. But I think the key then for us is to analyze, okay, like, is it because you want deeper play? Is it because you're doing fisting? Is it because you want to last longer? And what are some of the other techniques that we could do to help offset that? But, a periodic here and there, it's fine.
Right.
But I think what happens, I see a lot of, is the chronic use of these things. And then what happens is over time, 10, 15, 20 years of doing that, now all of a sudden your gut doesn't want to function.
Operate.
Exactly the way that it would really want to.
Okay, and then when we talk about more kink play or
Sure.
people that are, we were just talking about a hot topic. If somebody went in and stole a 30-inch dildo out of Circus Books in West Hollywood, the news source where I got it from didn't believe, it was like TMZ. They didn't believe anybody could take that. I know people in our community definitely
they could take
would go.
it. Totally.
That, fists,
Totally.
feet sometimes. I mean, when we get into that kink play, which I know some of my listeners are into, I have been in the past too. What are you worried about from your end of it as a proctologist?
Yeah, I think that obviously the cleansing component is basically that they're going to want to do shower hoses or colonics to like really clean deep, right? And so that in and of itself causes issues, again, with the microbiome, but also that the colon is stretched like a balloon.
Right.
And then over time, if you stretch it too much, what winds up happening is it doesn't function the right way. So you can get chronic constipation. You could start getting prolapse, where some of that, the actual lining that keeps it in place is now so lax that it starts to become an issue, or they develop hemorrhoids or whatnot. So I think the key is, look, I want people to do what their kink is. Right. So, but the key for us is to know that someone has those kinks, for us in the office to evaluate that, doing a little bit more frequent colonoscopies or sigmoidoscopies, taking a look, seeing Steve, our physical therapist, or someone like him, where we're doing more manometry testing, studying those muscles. The key is, I want you to be able to go to where you want, which is the biggest that you possibly want to take.
Right.
But then the rest of the time, you need to go back to your original, right?
Yeah.
So when I say to people, like, if I'm going to take a fist up my ass, the next day at the gym or when I'm home, I'm going to be doing Kegels. I'm going to be doing contractions. I'm going to be doing squats to pull everything back in.
The muscle back.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's no different than your beautiful biceps, right? One day you're doing biceps to really strengthen it, but the next day you're stretching the bicep, right? So it's no different. All of these muscles, it's just we were never taught to think this way, but we can train all of these muscles. How do you now fully open to receive? And then how do you now work it to keep it in alignment so that you don't have any of those potential issues?
I love it. It's just really taking charge of your lifestyle patterns and really taking, constructive action to keep everything healthy.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I see some in the communities, especially with fisting or bigger stuff, is that even in the younger guys now, they love the blooming, like the rosebud stuff.
Right.
And what I see a lot of is that, it's kind of like the timeline of that being beautiful is not as long as we would want it to be.
Right.
Meaning that, especially if someone starts really getting more into fisting and bigger stuff early, 19, 20, whatever, as we start to age, things start to fall apart.
Sure.
And then the surgery and the need for treatment for that is a lot more extensive. And that's why by seeing someone earlier, the goal for us is to keep that window in a good space so that you don't have any of those potential complications.
Got it. Well, I really want to talk about one of your new products by Future Method. People can go to futuremethod.com. It's a daily butt and gut daily fiber pill. What made you come up with this? I mean, we were talking all about diet. This is obviously in line with that. What is in this that we would be taking daily?
Yeah, so I think the key for me was to simplify the regimens, right? Our methodologies are a lot, meaning if you look at a lot of the fiber that's out there, it's 6 tablets here, it's 3 times a day. It's like, nobody fucking does that. How
Right.
could you do that,
Yeah.
And then it winds up just being all over the place. So the goal for me was, okay, if we want people to supplement with pre and probiotics and we want people to do fiber, let's come up with a routine. Let's come up with methodologies. So the
Right.
first is most people would do a pre and probiotic 2 pills in the morning. You don't want to do pre and probiotics with fiber because it and especially with some of the medications that people take, fiber interferes with absorption. So that's why a lot of times I like nighttime or before bed of using fiber, where you take literally 2 tablets of our fiber and it's done. 16 ounces of water, nice, and it's easy. You don't have to think about it.
Right.
And then what it does is it sets the stage for the success of what we're trying to achieve. With that being said, there's a couple of things that I think are really important. Obviously, it relieves the unwanted constipation. It makes things bulkier but softer and easier to expel. And, we want more of that firmer stool.
Right.
Right? The ones that are easier
Like
to
the
clean.
dog poop you
Exactly,
were talking about.
like
That's
the
such a
dog
good
poop.
image.
Yeah, totally, because we all have
Yeah.
seen it. You know what I'm saying? It also promotes the growth of this healthy intestinal bacteria also with some of the products that we're supporting.
Right.
So with that said, it's like it really helps for you from a diet perspective where it just aligns with the pre and probiotic with your diet and then really comes full circle so that you're able to do easily
Right.
what you want. And some of the stuff is like there's fiber gum that is in this formulation, and the fiber gum is really great. It like soaks up the water in the gut like a sponge, and it allows for easier passage. Some of the supplements that are out there have psyllium husk,
Right.
and you need a lot of that in order to support that. But with fiber gum, you only need it in 2 tablets, and so it winds up
nice.
just being easier. Also, when you look at some of the stuff, some of the fiber made me gassy or
Right.
bloated, and you don't feel sexy when you're doing
No.
that. So there's a lot that we do with like peppermint leaf powder, which really doesn't make you gassy. It doesn't make you feel bloated. But what it will do is it helps for you to feel satiated.
Right.
So at least like if you are potentially bottoming, that you're not as hungry as you potentially would be if you're using that in that capacity. And so there's a lot that's in there that really supports the gut health. One of the things that I see a lot of some of the fibers having is aloe. And aloe is a laxative. And for some people, it works really well. But for a
Right.
lot of people, it adds to diarrhea. A lot of us in New York have irritable bowel just from living in New York.
Right.
So with that said, you just have to be careful because some of that makes you go to the bathroom. And we really want everything to kind of be in line so that you're not having diarrhea, you're not feeling bloated, you're not having any of that. And it's all just, how do you figure out? And I say not all fiber is created equal.
Right.
So you have to see what works. And the goal for me was pulling all the data from Bespoke and seeing all these people like, all right, let's talk about this, this, and this, and start really developing products that would fit the needs of our community.
I love it. And I like that it's a pre and probiotic, which is really important, I think.
So the pre and probiotic is separate than the fiber.
Okay.
It comes as
Got it.
its own. And so 2 pills of the pre and probiotic in the morning.
Okay.
And then the fiber at night. And the pre and probiotic, most people, the prebiotic is just to support the probiotic.
Okay, got it.
So probiotic is bacteria, right? And
Right.
over time, what happens is the bacteria can change. And so the prebiotic is basically food for that probiotic so that it stays active and it could actually supplement and do what you want it to.
Got it. I love it. Okay. And so the fiber we take at night.
And I like night. Now, some people, you have to see what works for you, but
Right.
most of us shit in the morning.
Right.
Right? And the shitting in the morning is not because we have to go to work and we don't want to shit at work, which sometimes it is.
Yeah. Sometimes.
But it's also when you stand up, you're changing the pelvic angle. So
Right.
our body senses that. And then that's why, like, when you're brushing your teeth and getting ready, you feel like you have to go shit. So by giving the fiber at night with the nice tall glass of water, you're kind of playing into the morning bowel movement, so that then at least, because if you take fiber in the morning, then by 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, you may have to go.
Right.
So this at least sets the stage for your normal rhythm of when you're pooping.
And that combined with a good diet,
Totally.
you should be good to go.
Exactly.
You can use your cleaner, the douche cleaners.
Yeah, and I say, like, look, the reality is you have to do you, and if something's been working for you, great. I think the key is the way that I look at Future Method and what we're doing is to say, how do we analyze your routines?
Right.
And then how do we figure out what products would support that? And if there are, great. If there are others, that's awesome too. I think the key is to look at that in a really, really strategic way, that then we could really make sure that you're minimizing risk, all the while improving as much pleasure as possible.
Hey guys, your buddy Steve V here, and Valentine's Day is vastly approaching, and you've heard me talk about the guy that I've gone on 3 dates, about to go on a 4th date, and I'm really looking forward to Valentine's Day. I've never been into the holiday that much, but this particular year with this guy, I am. We both love good food. We're going to go to a restaurant, and then we're going to come back at night and continue the party together and make it happen. I'm very excited about this, and to tell you more about what goes on. Valentine's Day can cause a lot of anxiety for so many of us. Believe me, I get it. It's supposed to be like the sexiest day of the year, but I ask you this question. Are you ready? I mean, Roman ready for sex? Intimacy is so important for all of us. I can speak for myself with this new partner that when you are connected with somebody, you have better sex. And better sex means better happiness. Am I right? Roman is here for you because they address a variety of sexual health needs for us men here. Roman offers genuine medication that can help achieve and maintain a strong erection. Roman also offers discreet wipes that help you last up to 4 times longer in bed. And we talk so much about knowing your testosterone levels here at TAGSPodcast. Roman can help you treat low testosterone and help revive your sex drive. Roman has testosterone testing and treatment. The best thing about Roman is everything is online. You don't have to wait in long lines. There's no hassle. Roman sends everything to you right to your door with free shipping. And get this, it's in discreet packaging. So to get ready, and I mean Roman ready for better sex this Valentine's Day, go to ro.co/tags today to get 20% off your entire first order. Do it by February 8th for guaranteed shipping in time. That's ro.co/tags, TAGS. Got it. And a couple hot topics for you. One of them has to do with something we were talking about on the show. It was a hashtag. There's 2 of them. One of them's bottom problems. And the other one's top privilege. And it really had to do with, if it's bottom problems, it's guys posting things online on Twitter that I can't eat this pizza that I wanted to eat. I have to eat this. And then the top privilege was like eating 5 Taco Bell tacos and putting top privilege in there. I mean, it's a little bit obnoxious in many ways, in my opinion, but are there bottom problems that the top doesn't even have to think about?
Yeah, I mean, like, we're talking to all these things.
Right.
You know? I mean, the top's just like, oh, let's just fucking stick it in, you know?
Right.
I say, the best tops are the ones that actually bottom because they're able to understand what it takes to be a good bottom. And
thank you.
It's just like anything else, being a good bottom is practice and it takes work. And some people are willing to put in that work and others necessarily aren't. But when you look at food, that has become a huge issue, right?
Right.
We did with Postmates during Pride a campaign of bottom-friendly food.
Oh, I love it.
That
Was it all salad?
well, it was a lot of protein and kind of things that bulk more,
Right.
and giving people more options than, let's say, going to like Taco Bell and all of this. But the reality is that like, if you're actually eating something and then you're going to bottom after that, that's usually not what's coming out of your ass, right?
Right.
It usually takes, 2 to 3 days for what you're eating to truly come out, unless it's something that irritates you, like spicy food,
Right.
or it is that taco or whatnot, where like, hey, bottoming for me right now is probably not going to be the best idea. So, but I don't want people to starve themselves.
Right.
I want people to use fiber, probiotics in their diet in a way. If you are consistently doing something, your body's pretty smart. It becomes habitual, right? It like really learns your habits.
Right.
And so you're really able to kind of, to a T, be able to be like, hey, this is great. I'm ready to bottom, or I'm not. But the reality is, like, you have to be empowered as the bottom to be like, say no, or to be like, hey, this isn't right for me. And not take shame to that, and not look at it as being bottom problems.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, the bottom problems are mostly because the tops don't really know what the fuck they're doing. And a lot of what I see is they're not using the right lube. They don't know how to enter somebody. They're thrusting in weird positions that
sometimes
put so
no
much stress.
lube.
That's right. And so a lot of the pre-routine for bottoms, and what I try to teach, is you have to assume that the top knows nothing.
Right.
And that hashtag of top privilege, realistically, if you assume they know nothing, then you're wiping that off the equation. Because at the end of the day, by you pre-dilating, by you pre-lubricating, by you using and doing foreplay or bringing toys into sex play, by you starting on top as a bottom and not letting the top get behind you right away, you're kind of setting the stage for success. And it's you understanding that if you want to be submissive, you could still have control and be submissive, right? Or be in control and then slowly start to kind of allow that control to be released in a way that now allows the ass to take what you want in a better way. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I also think I've eaten well and I've taken fiber before, and it really works. 9 times out of 10, you can still have that one meal that you wanted to have.
Totally.
But if the general pattern is on a healthy stature, you're going to be okay.
Totally. Or if you say, you know what, fuck this, I do want to have that meal, and I want to bottom, then maybe that is an Imodium time, or you take like a Pepsid or a Tums or something that kind of calms down the stomach a little bit. If I have carbs and I'm eating pizza, I just feel like shit. Right. But if I'm doing a little bit of Pepto-Bismol with it, and you see it a lot, especially in lactose intolerance people, right? Where they're taking their pills a little bit more religiously if they are going to bottom. And so again, it's really situational dependent, but the key is not for you to sacrifice on one way or another. It's to figure out, how do we fit bottoming into your world and do it in a safe way, without shame, I guess, without those hashtags.
Right, exactly. We need better hashtags from that. And I think the top generally, like you're right, doesn't know what he's doing. So you need to take your own health, your own ass health, into consideration all the time.
And a lot of times we ask the partners to come to like a physical therapy session also.
Oh, that's
where
good.
we really make sure that people understand anatomy, that there's 3 sets of muscles and they need to relax and it takes time. And how do you like work the outside and getting things to relax in the right way? And so I think that there's a true art to that. And we're hoping that through Bespoke, Future Method, and what you're doing, that newbie bottoms, newbie tops are listening to be like, oh, how do I just get better?
Right.
Because what I see now is a lot of the younger kids, even though a lot of them are asking the right questions, are still like, all right, let's just fuck. And then they get it over with. And they're like, all right, we're done. It's
Right.
hold on a second. Like, there's a lot more to sex than just dumping a quick load. I mean, yes, that's hot. But like,
Right.
it's like, how do you make sure that you're doing things correctly, minimizing risk and maximizing the pleasure for all the partners?
I love it. I always love it when you're here. You really break it down for us. You can get daily fiber on futuremethod.com, as well as all your other products, correct?
Yeah,
Including,
totally.
Like you have a new candle out, Bedside Manner.
Yeah, we just launched with Candle. That's our signature scent on our Button Body Scrub and Soothing Cream. And I look at sex as, what do you do before sex? What do you do during sex? And what do you do after? And all the products are kind of aligned with that.
Nice.
Meaning, the douching, the probiotics, the fiber, also then kind of the post-care of really cleaning appropriate. I found that silicone lubes were so hard to get off your body, especially with cum and lube and all this stuff. So an appropriate body scrub, and then
Which I love.
Yeah, and then a soothing cream that's, we all get a little bit irritated.
Right.
And so how do you now prevent that? So a lot of what we did with Future Method is the products to support it, but also the science in sex and the education that I just felt like has been non-existent.
Absolutely. Love it. You can go to futuremethod.com, or you can always go to bespokesurgical.com as well, correct?
Yeah, totally. And then Instagram, it's The Future Method, it's Bespoke Surgical, and then Dr. Evan Goldstein on the channels as well.
Awesome. We'll list all this on TAGSPodcast.com. Thank you so much, as always.
Oh, my pleasure. We'll do it again.
Yes.
All right.
Well, like I said, I always learn so much when Dr. Goldstein is on the show. I hope you did too. Check out our show notes for links to all things Dr. Goldstein. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. You can follow us at TAGSPodcast on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at TAGSPodcast. And in the meantime, continue having hot, gay sex.